morning. It rained a little. Now, it didn't say that it rained a little. Like, I was watching a rain gauge last night after I went home. We've got the digital rain gauge, right? And we had like 200s, 300s. By the time I went to bed, it said 600s. I'm like, dang, we just missed it. Dad came out this morning and was looking around and said, it looks wetter than that. So he went out to our rain gauge. There was bird poop in the bottom of the rain cone collector. We actually had like 3/10. That's good. We're gonna go drive around and look at some fields from the road. Well, those beans look good. Get some dark soil from the rain moisture and you can see them a lot better. It makes them look better. Can't see down the rows there because we're driving parallel, but that corn's all there. That looks pretty good. These were the first beans planted, April 13th, I think. And they're there. They look better every day. You can roll them across the field now. I think we're going to be in pretty good shape here. You guys probably can't see them. I can see them. So these are beans that were planted the 19th of April, and well, they're coming. They're coming. But look at this. Let me get my seed digger out. Remember yesterday how hard and crusty it was? Now look. That bean's gonna make it now. That one was going to until I ripped him in half. Look at that one right there. Yep. Popping open. He broke off. He was broken. So this rain is exactly what we needed. They're here. It's going to change a lot in a week. A lot. This, I don't know when this corn was planted. The second planting window, 15, 16, 17, somewhere in there. Yeah, it's good. It's really good. This is our 112-day 12S75. We're going to have a NCGA entry right out here somewhere. Yeah, it's good corn. Oh, we're still driving around. I'll look at some wheat. This wheat is some of our early stuff that's been pushed, let's say. Heads are emerging. It's not pollinating yet, so we've got a few days, but head scab fungicide soon. You guys remember when I told you that Dad had to plant some flowers? Well, there they are. We're down in those fields. These are the filter strips, and he had to spray off a patch, which he did, and then planted his flowers in there. So our corn down here looks fantastic. Yeah, this stuff is really good. What day did I plant this? Do you remember? Was this like the 26th? That end of April? I don't remember. I think it was. It looks really good. Oh, there's some more flowers. They're growing good. The deer haven't even eaten them all.
I've watered them twice.
Watered them twice. There's one dead one there, but whatever. Oh yeah, look at this. So good. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this stand. Look at this. So I've talked about this before, and I'll show you more later in the summer, but the corn leaves actually act as a funnel. And look at that. The center whorl of that plant is full of water. It's funneling it right down to its roots. So makes a little bit of rain turn into a little bit more rain for those plants. Solid V2. Not quite to V3 yet, but we're getting there. This corn looks really good. Okay, well, I'm feeling better. I'm feeling a lot better after we got that rain. And the rain gauge not working last night had me like, oh crap, now what are we gonna do? But no, we got enough rain to soften the crust up on everything and to get the crops out of the ground. So I still have 1 or 2 fields of corn that I'm a little iffy on whether or not they're gonna make it. We might have to do some patching in and some replants. And we've got 2 or 3 fields of beans that are, yeah, they don't look great. We'll see how much more stuff comes from the rain that we just got. But for the most part, all of our early stuff looks really good, especially the very early planted stuff. It's some of that third planting window that's the stuff that's really struggling, or the second one with beans. So I don't know, we'll see. But anyway, we're in good shape there. So today is Saturday. I'm not really doing much today, but one of the things that I wanted to do and talk about was our new corn planter. So we're going to go through and we're going to do a little corn planter review and what I liked, what I didn't like, and all that kind of stuff. So let's get to it. So if you're relatively new to the channel, this corn planter was new to us this year. This is a 21 model, 1775 NT, 24-row, 30-inch ExactEmerge high-speed planter. It has individual row hydraulic downforce. It has exact apply in-furrow liquid fertilizer system. It has a surefire 2x2x2 liquid fertilizer system using precision conceal openers. We've got row cleaners on here. We have Copperhead furrow cruiser closing wheels that we added. It is an extremely nice planter. I will say this. There was a learning curve. It took me a while to be comfortable running it and to really feel like I knew what I was doing. But that's because literally everything on this planter was different than my previous planter. It was a whole new system to run, right from the monitor to the row units to the meters to the fertilizer system. Everything was different. And it took a little while. So let's start off with things that I did not like, things that might need to be changed or upgraded for next year. Number one, do you guys see this buildup on the inside of my closing wheels here? Every one of them's got it. It's not horrible, but there is just a little bit. Some worse than others. That is fertilizer splatter from my in-furrow nozzles. So we've got this nozzle right here. It's putting out our in-furrow fertilizer. And while it was down right on the ground, it was splashing, and it's getting all over our closing wheels. And I do not like that. It means that it's not going where I want it to. It's splashing around. That is not how we want to place that fertilizer. And so we are going to look into alternative options for that in-furrow placement next year. And whether that is a precision furrow jet we may put in there, and I'll explain that when we get to it if we do that, or putting a Keaton seed firmer in there with a liquid tube on it or something, but that system needs to be upgraded and changed. All right, another thing that was frustrating for me and that I didn't really like, so let's talk about our closing wheels. So we've got these spiked cast closing wheels. I really like the closing wheels themselves. I think they do a nice job. I think they're part of the reason we didn't have as much crusting issues with corn. Like, I got one field that's really bad. Other than that, it wasn't. And I think that having that dimpled surface helps break it apart so that the plants can break through it a little bit easier. But what I don't like about these is I caught a lot of rocks, right? So these are running, they're on an angle, and I would occasionally get a rock stuck in here. It happened once, twice on every field where I would have to stop and get out and actually pick it out. It happened a couple of times, or a couple of times on every field, basically, where I would get in there, it would run for 20, 30, 50 feet before I would see it, and then it would pop out on its own, and I wouldn't have to actually get out. The only thing I know how to do or what to do to address that is, if you can see down in there, there is another hole right here. Right there, see my finger sticking through it? We can stagger these. So we're going to take one side and move it forward and offset them just a little bit. And hopefully that stops them from grabbing the rocks quite so bad. So that was a major frustration for me because it happened fairly frequently. There was a lot of concern with these conceals and the knives there and getting rocks either stuck in this or between the knife here and the opener blade. I had very little trouble with that. Happened 2 or 3 times the whole season. So not a real big concern there. We do need to look at those and evaluate for wear and see how many of them we broke. You'll remember when we were going through this preseason, we found quite a few of them that were broken. Well, not quite half of them. And so I know I broke one in season. We changed that when we were doing the plot. Other than that, I don't know of any of them that are broken. So that system worked really well, and I am pretty happy with it. Another would-be nice upgrade would be some sort of an adjustment system on our row cleaners. These are what we call floating pin adjust right now. So you'll notice that we have a pin right here with all these different holes. We can put that wherever we want to set the height, and then they are free to float up above that. They take a long time to adjust. They're kind of a pain in the butt to adjust. You can put an air cylinder or some other device in there to adjust them up and down all together from the cab. That would be really nice. Now, I adjusted them probably 4 or 5 times this year, and two of them was just getting them set to start with. Now that I know where they need to be set and how I change them based on whether we're in bean stubble or corn stalks, it's not super necessary, but it would still be nice to have. We did have a couple of fertilizer leaks. I remember tightening that clamp up like the last day of planting and just trying to tighten some of that stuff up. Most of it is not too bad, but something that we'll kind of keep an eye on, or just, you just kind of keep trying to tighten stuff up as it goes. Other things that I didn't like, that covers a lot of it. There was one day where I had trouble getting my ExactRate fertilizer pump to prime. I didn't have very much in my tanks. I wasn't pulling. No, that's the in-furrow. I didn't have very much in the in-furrow tank, and it was lower than the pump. And so once I tipped the tongue up and set the back down and got it to prime, and then it worked fine from there. That was really the only issue we had on that side of it. So really, I had some singulation and spacing issues with some of the meters, or with the meters, but I have a feeling that was more related to either seed size or the dust that I was putting in the talc replacement stuff that I was using in the meters, not being as effective as I wanted it to, or having too much of a rate. One thing that would be really nice, that's kind of a pain with these meters, that was better on the old style, is the double eliminator is very difficult to adjust. You actually have to pull the meter out and then move the little fingers in there. There's nothing from the outside to adjust those like the old ones were, and I'm not pulling that off because we'll lose seed everywhere. So that's kind of frustrating, and it keeps you from doing it, to be honest. Like, I just said, screw it, I'm just going to go, because it takes too long to do it, and you got to pull all the seed out, and then you got to figure out how you're going to get seed back in it, or what you're going to do with it. And yeah. What else? We did have a few issues with some down pressure sensors early, but from the time they came and replaced all of these wire harnesses and these sensors, 0 issues, none. So that problem has been totally fixed, and we haven't had any problems there. Don't anticipate any problems. I did have some trouble with this wire harness and the flow sensor, but the last couple of days that we were planting here, it very rarely threw that flow detection error or fault or whatever. And so I'll look into the wiring. I'm pretty sure it's just a wiring on the sensor issue. It's not actually a flow problem. So yeah, that's that. Now, what do we like about it? There is a lot to like here, right? Number one, the meters performed fantastic. And I just got done telling you how we had some singulation and spacing issues, but it wasn't really the meter's fault. The fact that I can pull this planter upwards of 9 to 10 miles an hour and have 99.5+% positive, good singulation, good ride quality from our hydraulic, it is just amazing what this planter is capable of. Do you guys remember the pop can test that we did, where I took a full can of pop, I set it on one of these lids, and we drove across the field. We went a half a mile at 8.5 miles an hour, and the pop can stayed there because our ride quality is so good from that hydraulic downforce cylinder. Like, that is amazing to me. The productivity gains from this planter, or from our 16 row to this planter, is just phenomenal. My planting season was very drawn out, right? We started the 12th of April. We finished on the 17th of May. That's over a month. It should not take us that long, but we didn't plant that hard in April. We were taking our time because it was cold. I could have planted much more, much quicker, but I didn't want to. And then here in May, we were being very patient, trying to give time for the ground to dry out because it was our wet fields that were left. So we could have done faster, but I wanted to check and see how many hours we put on this tractor. I'll have to go back and look in my videos from last year. I am pretty sure we put just over 100 hours on this tractor last year planting corn, like 104 or 110 or something like that. We were sitting at right at 400 hours when we started planting this year, so we'll see how many hours are on the tractor and how much less it actually took us to plant the crop this year. 472. So we put a little over 30 less hours on this tractor planting corn as compared to last year. Now that may not seem like a huge reduction when you figure, how many acres, just how much more productive we can be with our planter. But you got to remember, I spent a lot of time loading this planter, which I shut the tractor off when we were loading, but roading and stuff, like there's a lot of logistics time. And so the in-field time was cut by 30 hours basically. I haven't looked at used equipment prices recently to know, but at one point I had figured that an hour of operation time cost us over $100 in depreciation on that tractor. So 30 hours at $100 an hour, yeah, I mean, that's $3,000. Is that right? Is that all it was? Is $100 an hour? Something like that. I don't know. But it's a good thing to put less hours on our tractor. And it did save us a tremendous amount of time. The other thing that being able to go faster did was totally reduce my stress level. I didn't stay out past midnight once, maybe 11 o'clock one time. Most nights I was done by 10, 9:30, because we weren't pushing. I was not like, we gotta go. I never had that really hard spring push window. And so, when I was loading, I was making sure I was doing it right. I was taking my time. I was walking. I wasn't running from thing to thing, sprinting, trying to get it done as fast as possible so I could get back to the field, because we had to be planting. I have to go, because I can do it so fast. It just doesn't take any time to go to a field and plant it. And so stress level was way reduced from where we have been in previous springs. And yes, part of that was the fact that we started so early and that the weather, not so much the planter, but a lot of it was the fact that we could go fast. So, overall, this planter performed really, really well. I'm super glad that we got it. Would a 16-row ExactEmerge have worked for us? Yeah, it probably would. But I think we're going to see more agronomic benefits from the 24-row that wouldn't show up on a 16-row that are going to be beneficial as well. We have less pinch rows. We have less tractor tracks across our fields. And our compaction is spread out a little bit more. We have the frame weight distribution on here that kept that pressure on these outside wing wheels and lifted some of the weight off the center of the planter. So I think that's going to show up and benefit us. Dad made the comment several times this morning as we're driving around. He's like, our corn looks really green. It looks greener than normal for this stage. Like, our corn typically comes out of the ground and it just struggles a little bit. It's yellow before it gets really going. Well, this year it looks greener, and I am almost 100% attributing it to the fact that we have the in-furrow and the 2x2. I've got more nitrogen there. We've got it more readily available, easier for those plants to access. Yeah, that's going to matter. It's making a huge difference. I showed it in yesterday's video where you could see side by side where we put the starter versus where we didn't. Those things are going to matter. They're going to make our corn better because of the ability that this planter has. This planter does not have markers. I was a little bit concerned about that. I mean, I have GPS, so we use that on almost everything. There is a few select times when the markers would have been handy. I would have actually dropped them. But one of the things, so with our 40-foot planters and our 120-foot sprayer, every 3 passes works out even with the sprayer, right? So we would plant one pass along the edge of the field, the second pass in, the sprayer tires and would follow. It would be the center of the tractor pass. With the 60-foot planter, the sprayer is actually straddling the wing wheel, the wing tires, the guest row between 2 planter passes. And so when we had the 40-foot planter, and what Phil does with the bean planter is we'll actually plant 2 passes around the outside of a field that follow the edge of the field. I didn't need to do that with this planter and the reason we did that was so the sprayer could follow them. But with this, he can follow the one side from the planter, the first pass, because his sprayer tire would actually go between these 2 rows right here. And then the next ones I would just leave parallel with the rows in the field. So those were the situations when I used markers with a 40-foot planter, is when I was following the edge of a tree, woods, or a fence row or something where I didn't have a guidance line set and it was curved and stuff. I didn't have to do that because I wasn't making a second pass there this year. So I really didn't miss the markers. These flow meters here, these red balls, they were nice to see every now and then. I never did move the ones there. They need to be moved up to the front or something different done. They're kind of a nice visual confirmation that it's working, but they float right to the top. I need to put a heavier ball or something in there. They were just not something that I relied on too much. The monitors are so nice to be able to keep track of everything on the planter and know that it is all working. I will say there were a couple of times when I forgot to go in and push a button on a monitor to turn on the in-furrow or something like that. That was a little frustrating. I hesitate to say that I wish John Deere had more alarms on their monitor because they have plenty, but there was a couple of times when I found myself having planted 5 or 10 acres with no in-furrow fertilizer because I forgot to push the button. And I'm like, oh, crap. And so an alarm to say, hey, do you want to turn this on when it starts planting and realizes it's not? Yeah, I don't know. That's on me. That's not the planter's fault, but it's a mistake that was made a couple of times. All right, so with that, I think we're going to wrap this one up. If you guys have any more questions about this planter, what I liked and didn't like, anything specific you want to know, type them down into the comments below. I do my best to answer them and read them. Sometimes I do a better job than others, but that's just how things go. But yeah, I would absolutely do it again, buy one again. I think it is going to improve our operation. I know it has already improved our operation, and I'm really happy with the job the planter does. A couple of small tweaks and upgrades that we'll try and make for next year, with regards to the in-furrow fertilizer and the closing wheels and stuff there, but it's a tremendous planter. I was really, really happy with the job that it did. Anyway, thanks for watching this one, everybody. Have a great night, a great rest of your weekend, and we will see you Monday morning for another week. Thanks for watching.